Hey class, it's Mr. Jones. I'm going to let me see if I can find that thing. Well, hopefully I'll find this sooner or later. Um, I'm going to go over some different parts of this week's work. Um, but first, we're going to go over the short story review questions, and this is strictly what you're going to be doing with the rough draft that you all created last week. Um, Biggest thing on this is first off, if you do not have access to edit it like you've already submitted it, you can resubmit it or you can unsubmit it. I'm sorry. And that should let you edit it. But if not, just email me and I will see what I can do. But one thing that I always had my students do last year was to always take their rough draft and just copy and paste it into a new Google Doc. And then you can make your revisions on that new Google Doc. Um, but those are just some different options for you to do. But what you're going to be doing in this is you're just going to be answering these questions. Put your name here, and I want to kind of go over this asterisk right here. Now we're going to read our rough draft of our short stories. We're completing this sheet based off your rough draft that you did last week. These questions are specifically designed so that you have to go back into your rough draft and analyze that. If you cannot answer a question, then you probably should add more to your story, at least enough where you can answer every question on this paper. So if you see one of these questions, you all, that you go back in your rough draft and you're like, I can't answer that, or you have a lot of trouble answering it, maybe you need to go back. And if it's number one you're having trouble answering, maybe you need to add more about the setting in your rough draft. That's why we're doing this, is so that maybe you all can just self-critique, self-analyze your rough draft based off these questions, because all of these are based off the rubric that your final draft is going to be graded on. So, like I said, if you're kind of confused with answering one question, maybe you need to add a little more to your rough draft, and that's okay, because that's why we're doing this. This is going to be used to help show you what in your rough draft you need to add or strengthen. Remember, this is being used to help you, so please do not be discouraged if you have if you have to add a lot of information to your rough draft. This is only to make sure that your final draft has everything in it needs in it, and you have the opportunity to receive the best grade possible for your final draft. So you all, this is just something to help your all's grade, and this is why I wanted you all to do your rough draft last week, so you all can critique it, and we can make some edits, and that way your final copy will be um, just as strong as it can get, as close as it can get to the rubric as possible, so that way y'all can get the best grade, because this will be going into the grade book as summative. So it's important that we kind of try our best on this and do as much as we can to ensure that we get the best grade possible. So you're going to answer the following questions in clear sentences about your story. So number one, what is the setting of the story? What are the descriptive words used to tell where or when and where the story is taking place? You're just going to be answering that right underneath it. And remember, if you're having trouble with this, maybe you need to go back and add more about setting. Maybe be more clear about when or where something took place. What could the writer do to improve the description of the setting of the story? If it's already good, then you can put that. This is just about yours. If you feel like you needed to add something, you can put that down here. Who is the protagonist of the story? Again, if you're having trouble with that one, maybe you need to clearly identify who the protagonist is. How does the writer describe the protagonist's looks, personality, interests, and values? What else does the writer tell us about the protagonist? So if you're having trouble with this, maybe you're not too clear about description of the protagonist. So you need to go back, maybe add some more about their looks, about their personalities, about their interests or values. Is the protagonist clearly described? Explain. What could the writer do to improve the description of the protagonist in the story? Number 4, look at the writer's use of other characters in the story. Are there other characters who need more description or explanation? Think about what you need to know about these characters and explain. So you all, a lot of this is like just self-analyzation, like I said. And a lot of this might require work that you might not want to do. You might not want to explain. You might not want to think about what you need to do about, or what you need to know about these characters, or what you need to improve about the description of the protagonist. But you all, this is just so you all can have a better grade on this assignment. So I'm not doing this for busy work. I'm not. I'm doing this so that way you all can, like I said, get the best grade on this as possible. So that's why I'm doing all this. So please try hard in this and actually self critique yourself, because you're not doing yourself, you're not doing anybody any favors if you're just like, oh well, that's great. And whenever I go and look in the final draft, I can't see absolutely anything about the protagonist. You see what I'm saying? Um, and I know that this can be confusing, and a lot of times you might be doubting yourself after doing some of this. You're like, well, is this enough? If you're doubting yourself, email me. Or call the school, ask for me. I'll be glad to help you in any way I can. Number 5, what is the conflict in this story? You just put that down here. How important is the conflict of the story? Does it play a major role in the story? Explain. Again, you all, there's a lot of explaining to do, but I do think that this has helped a ton of my students' grades in the past, for the people that actually tried to do it. So you all just give me your best effort on this and be real with it. What could the writer do to improve the way the conflict is used in the story? So you all that's about conflict. If you're having trouble with that, maybe go make sure that your conflict is clear in the story. Make sure you label or you show how important the conflict is in the story. And then we can go to number 6. What did you think was the climax of the story? Remember, climax is the high point, the turning point, so to speak, of this story. Was this an important moment in the story? Did you feel like everything in the story was different after that point? Explain. And what could the writer do to improve the climax of the story? Again, could have a lot of writing to do, but like I said, I think it's for your benefit. And if you're struggling with number 6, go back, make sure that you have a climax, a clear climax, because a lot of times in the past, I would have students be like, well, Mr. Jones, there's my climax. But if it's not clear, if it's not the clear turning point, where things changed after, or things changed after that in the story, then it's not a clear climax. And make sure that it's clear. Number 7, is there enough dialogue in the story? Is there too much dialogue in the story? So you all, this is one that a lot of my students have been confused about. They're always second guessing themselves. They're like, do I have enough or do I have too much? You all, too much dialogue is specifically where all it is just basically an interview. All it is dialogue, then that's too much. But if you have a significant amount, but you also have a lot of text that isn't dialogue, then I don't think that's too much. So don't worry so much about that. Only thing I'd worry about is if you only have like one piece of dialogue in there, that's probably not enough. But if your whole short story is just dialogue, then that's probably too much. Try to find that happy medium. And if you need help with that, or you're confused, or you have some uncertainty about it, email me. Does the writer punctuate and indent the dialogue correctly in this story? If not, explain what he or she needs to do. You all go back, look at your quotation marks, look at your indentions, your new paragraphs after quotations, and have your dialogue rules sheet pulled up from last week. It was in last week's Google Classroom assignment. Make sure that you're using punctuation marks with your quotations, that you're creating new paragraphs anytime a new character speaks. All of that little stuff that's in the dialogue rules that a lot of times we just neglect. We're just like, we're not going to do it. You all, this is a pretty big assignment. So make sure that you're, doing those, taking those extra steps, doing correct formatting of the dialogue, of the quotation marks, of the punctuation marks, the new paragraphs. And if you're confused about that, send me an email, call the school, ask about me. I'll be glad to help you all in any way I can. Number 8, are there any parts of the story which are confusing? Or is there anything that is unclear in the story? Explain. What suggestions do you have for the writer making these story elements less confusing or more clear? Um, Biggest thing, you all just have clarity. Make sure your short story is clear. Um, make sure I know what, make sure the reader, not specifically me, but I will be reading it. The reader can, you know, can tell where the story's going. I mean, I'm not saying you can't just throw in, something unforeseen, because that's good in a short story. But just make sure that there is some sort of clarity. And like I said, if you have any confusion about that, you're wondering if yours is clear, email me. Be glad to help. Number 9, did the writer use his or her imagination in this story? What suggestions do you have for the writer to improve the creativity or using his or her imagination more in the story? You all just using your imagination, that's just about being creative. And that's part of the rubric that I posted in last week's um, assignment. If you want to go back and look at it, you will be graded. One part of the rubric is just based strictly off creativity. So you all be creative with this. Um, that's why I didn't give you all a set like format or set topic you had to write about. I wanted to be creative. So use your creativity in this. Number 10, did the story contain sentences which are confusing? Was there sentences that seemed to be run-on sentences or sentence fragments? A run-on sentence, those sentences that last like for about a full paragraph, that's a run-on sentence. A run-on sentence is just basically um, a long sentence that can be broken down into shorter sentences or sentence fragments. A sentence fragment is just specifically, it's just not a complete sentence. So biggest thing to help you all with this is because you're doing it on a computer, you see a little blue line or blue line underneath a sentence or something, that generally means it's grammar related. So go check that blue line. And if you ever have to do that, all you do is you click on it. And I think with your Chromebook, you just click with 2 fingers and you right click, and a lot of times your suggestion will just pop up. But please do not turn in a story where there's just blue and red lines absolutely everywhere, because you all can see that, and you all can edit that and change that before you turn it in. So make sure you do that. And again, if you have questions about this, you have some uncertainty, email me. Was there spelling, punctuation, or other word usage errors in the story? In the margin of the story, but you all, because you're doing this on your own, you all do not have to put these for each one. You don't have to put the spelling, punctuation, or you. Um, all I want y'all to do is just edit, critique where you think maybe you made a spelling error. Just go back and change it. If you see a little red squiggly line, go back and change it. If you see a blue squiggly line showing that maybe you have a grammar error, go back, look at it, maybe change it, make the suggestion that it's suggested. You all, this is, I know it might seem like overkill for a rough draft, but this is going to make sure that your final draft is as strong as it can possibly be. I think that this is can be very beneficial for you all. So please do this, and be honest with it. Be honest with yourself about this, because this is a great way to improve your grade. And if you didn't do your rough draft, then if you want to do the work, um, or if you didn't do the rough draft, you can just go through these. You can maybe type out your final draft, but don't turn it in yet, and then go through your final draft and answer these questions about it. I don't care. But I do need your final draft by the end of this week. If there is going to be, maybe you had to go out of town, maybe there's something going on with the family, maybe you having connection issues, maybe something happened. I get it. Email me, you all. If you email me and let me know about it, then more times than not, I'm going to give you all some more time to finish it. But if you do it every week, you email me, Mr. Jones, and it's just something new every week, then I could grow a little weary about it. But if it's just once every now and then, I get it. Just shoot me an email. I get that this can be very stressful and it can be very time consuming. Just let me know. But with that being said, I hope that this really helps you all. If y'all have any questions about anything, this document or anything, email me, call the school. I'll be here, should be here every day from at least 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock, could be later. But just email me at my email account, call the school, do whatever. I'll be glad to help you in any way I can. I hope y'all are having um, a healthy virtual learning session, I guess, and that you all are doing well. I hope that you all had a safe holiday, and I hope that you all are getting ready for Christmas, drinking lots of hot chocolate and watching Elf and all that stuff. Um, but you all have an awesome day. If y'all need anything whatsoever, just shoot me an email. Thanks, guys.